Good evening and live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the sun and fun capital of the world. I'm Dr. John Stamey and I'm welcoming everybody to ScaryCast tonight. We've got another great show lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, I want to introduce our co-hosts, the Dean of ScaryCast from the Midlands of South Carolina, the one and only Dr. Trey Dunaway. How are you tonight, Dr. Trey?
A good day today, John. Happy to be here with y'all.
We are glad you're here too. So we're going to have some fun tonight, and I'm glad we have someone with your medical expertise with us, which is great. And from Ewing, Virginia, where they have a flashing yellow light. I'm never going to let you live that down. Matt Delph, how are you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing excellent. Glad to be here, guys.
We got the badass monster hunter, and I'm gonna tell everybody your new secret. You've got a new bus, and you're gonna have the badass monster hunter bus, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. That's gonna be base camp for me.
All right, well that's good. At least we got some place to conk out at 4 in the morning after we've been monster hunting, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right, good. I'm so glad. And we are, of course, glad to have you here. It wouldn't be ScaryCast without you gentlemen. And now, first of all, from Winnipeg, Canada, a gentleman who's got an incredible story from this weekend and before, a UFO abductee, Rich Thomas. How are you doing tonight, Rich?
I'm doing okay. I'm still physically and I think mentally and emotionally coming to terms with what happened very early Sunday. I just want to give a shout out to, please, if I can, to the Road Beyond podcast and Todd and Matt. They invited me to be interviewed earlier today, or actually today. But I only got out of bed after Sunday's incident late this afternoon. I just wasn't physically and emotionally well enough to to do their show. But here I am.
Well, we are glad you're here. And hold that thought. I've got one more guest to interview, our very good friend, a very good friend of ScaryCast, and also of our conferences down in Georgia, the one and only Les Durrant. How are you doing tonight, Les?
I'm doing great. It is a little bit cool out here, and I got the moon out here with me tonight. So yeah, we're having ourselves a good old time. There we go. So if anything flies by, I'll be able to see it. And yes, and I'm looking forward to going to Dillard here in June, and then I'm going to be going to 20 miles from Area 52, and that's we talked about this before, but this is where my dad's being buried. So it is one of the most safest areas in the entire world. Actually, it's protected all the way to infinity, as they have been saying. So, which is Dugway, Utah. Yeah. So
Dugway
that's going to be happening on the 10th. Yes.
10th.
Yep. And I'm bringing all my equipment. Yeah.
Good. And we're going to be doing a podcast or two from out there, right?
Yeah. And I maybe while Rich is talking, I'll go inside real quick and gather my rocks from Rachel, Nevada, from Area 51. So yeah, my friends just came back from there. But yeah, so you're gonna really enjoy Rich's story. He is. I'm gonna kind of beef you up here a little bit, Rich, but he is a multiple abductee. He doesn't have just one mark on him. He has a few marks on him. And his wife is. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday to Haley. And she can attest to stuff that he's gone through as well. So whenever you're ready, John, meet up with Rich Thomas.
Okay. Well, we're going to get started for tonight's ScaryCast. Well, first of all, Rich, officially good evening, and we're so glad to have you here with us on ScaryCast. You're a friend of Les Durrant's, and we're glad you're here.
No, and I appreciate it, and I trust Les. I've been speaking with Les for about a year at least now, and besides advice he can give me, he's become a really trusted friend. So thanks for having me.
Well, that's wonderful. All right, Rich, I will start the questioning. And what we do is we let you talk for about 10 minutes, and then we go back and forth between our co-hosts, and they ask you questions, and that normally gives us additional interesting things to talk about. So that's our format. All right, Rich, tell us what happened this past weekend.
Well, I think it's important to know that the last time I remember being abducted was actually Christmas Eve of 2023 that just passed. And my memory of the abduction was very brief, but I knew it wasn't the same as the multiple abductions I've been through with tall grays and short grays. This was 3 very tall, 10, 12 feet tall, very shadowy black figures, I would say. And my wife had me come to after I lost some time, and I was frightened and crying and scared. I wouldn't even go outside. And then, okay, to fast forward, about 4 nights ago, I saw off my balcony this tall, shadowy thing moving, but not walking, not running. It's very hard to explain in words how it was moving in the middle of a very busy roadway outside our condo and on the road. And it would come in and out. Like it was dark, then it would go like gray and then kind of disappear, and then it would fade in and out for about at least half a mile till it completely disappeared. Then early Sunday morning, maybe around, I was just talking to my wife, around about 6 o'clock in the morning, I came to on the couch, and I noticed, because I was just wearing a t-shirt, on my left arm were bruises, about pea-sized bruises in a circular formation, 10 of them. I don't know if you have pictures.
Rich, hold on, because I want to let everybody know that if you will go to the Facebook page for ScaryCast, it is facebook.com/ScaryCast. That is the most recent post that we have. It says 0422 Rich Thomas alien abduction photo. So the photo that you sent Les is up there on ScaryCast, on Facebook's ScaryCast page for everyone to see. And Dr. Trey, if you have
can you show him, Rich? Can you show your arm, Rich?
Right now, it's like show the picture maybe. Just give me a second here. But what I was going to say is that, I came to I thought it was only an hour, but my wife said it was 3 hours. And then I had these marks.
There you go. There you go.
On my left bicep, in pretty much a particular singular, round formation that were bruises. but the thing is, it didn't hurt at all. It wasn't sensitive to the touch whatsoever. And I've had other marks on me, like triangular marks on my left ankle, a circular mark on my left foot, and my wife's had the triangular mark on her left ankle as well. And they don't hurt. They're not sensitive. Doesn't look like puncture wounds whatsoever. And they're just mysterious. And this one was just, there's no rhyme or reason how this could have appeared on my body.
How about show them your knuckles? On your knuckles too.
Well, you probably may not be able to see as well, but my right hand, I'm ambidextrous, but my right hand is more inflamed, and my knuckle, if you can see there, is a bit red, like I punched or something. And I was telling Les earlier that, yesterday I thought I had the flu because the muscles, like my tricep on my right hand side, both my muscles on the lower leg and my thigh muscles, like they're tight and they hurt, like I just ran a marathon or something. And I don't like to be a conspiracy theorist unless I know something for a fact, especially with me. I think I might have fought back with these tall, dark, shadowy entities that at least have been coming around since, last Christmas Eve. Otherwise before it was just tall and short grays.
I've got a question for you. Now, your wife said that it took about 3 hours for this. Had you vanished from your house?
I don't know, because she was in the bedroom. I was out in the living room. The weird thing, though, too, that she mentioned when I came to is that I'm diabetic. And so one thing is I drink water or meal drinks a lot, constantly. And the thing was, over a 3-hour plus period of time, I only had like one sip, which, like, to me is definitely not normal and physically very weird that I could sit and not be thirsty.
Okay.
Do you think time? Yeah.
All right. So that is basically the story, and you have not felt good ever since that early Sunday morning, correct?
No, I had to force myself out of bed today around 3 p.m. to take a shower. Like I said, like originally I thought it was a flu, but then I realized, no, it's not, like a flu in my head, my nostrils and eyes or whatsoever. It was just muscle tightness, like my muscles just hurt.
Okay. And are you feeling a little better? I think you said you're now feeling a little better, right?
Yeah. Like more, I took really 3 or 4 very hot showers since I woke up already today, just to get them on my muscles and try to relax them. And the mark, like on my left bicep, it has already changed to just, not black bruises, like the pictures will show, I guess, on your Facebook page or whatever.
Right.
But they've already turned yellow. So I would highly suspect that by tomorrow it'll be gone completely. And this isn't really the first time. I've had marks, bruises on my left muscle, just above my foot, where it has gone from, it looked like, I was hit with a bat or something. And within 8 to 12 hours, it will completely disappear, just gone. And it wouldn't even hurt when I would touch it.
Seems a little unusual. All right, so that's the genesis of your story. Dr. Trey Dunaway, do you have any questions for our guests tonight?
Rich, it's very unusual to have a bruise and have it go away in a day. I mean, that's what happens is you have extravasated blood in your skin, and it breaks down, and it'll go from black and blue to kind of a green, and then it'll eventually go to a yellow and then fade away. But that's really unusual to have it happen so fast. I agree, that's odd. Have you ever seen cupping?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever seen something called cupping? Instead
No.
of acupuncture, some people do cupping, and it creates a little vacuum. So if you take the end of a syringe and you suck on that end of the syringe and it's attached to your skin, you'll get little bruises like that.
Oh, okay. No. I
Like a
Were
hit.
they raised at all when you
No.
first saw them? They were just
No,
completely macular. They're
completely
flat.
smooth, and like I said, completely smooth, and
You didn't
there
feel
was
any
no sensitivity, to the touch or even like pushing down hard
right,
on it.
right.
Like,
So it wasn't tender,
no,
and you didn't feel any thickening of the skin or inflammatory changes there. It
no,
just had the appearance of those spots, and
yeah.
then it might be gone within the next 24 hours. Very unusual. I can't physiologically figure out what would leave a bruise for such a small period of time to have it go back to normal.
Well, I think it's important, like John said or whatever, to check out the website and see the pictures, because we don't have them to show.
I'll take a look at them afterwards.
Right
If I go to that, I
now,
lose the connection, so I can't look right
that
now.
they are, just pea size maybe, and in a perfect
Yeah, they're kinda like
circular
that, in a
formation
circle.
pendulum.
Right. And
clock.
what's the last thing you remembered? Now, when you're talking about Sunday morning, you're talking about yesterday morning, right?
Yeah.
And what's the last memory you had before you woke up?
I was watching TV, and I was watching replays of NHL hockey, because we're big NHL fans here. Winnipeg Jets, go Jets, go. Sorry, I had to add that in. And then I just remember coming to, and the replays weren't on anymore. It was regular news broadcast, and I was just wearing the white T-shirt like I normally do before bedtime and in bed, and then I just looked over to my left, and I saw my arm, and I was just like, what the hell is this? And and then I touched it and pressed at it, and and it didn't hurt, didn't feel like anything. And I think immediately I went to Les's group, Objects and Orbs, and I posted on my own private Facebook page for my own reference, pictures of these bruises. And then I went to go wake up Haley, and I said, I don't know what's happened. Like, in the last hour, this just appeared. And she goes, Rich, no, it's been 3 hours, at least. And that's, so far, because this is brand new, maybe, I don't know, my other experiences sometimes take a couple weeks or so to start remembering a little bit. I have no recollection, memory of anything, nothing.
So the last you remember being awake was watching the game, and then your wife said that she saw those marks 3 hours before you identified them.
No. I was watching sports highlights of the games that were on Saturday night. And I came to around 6 a.m, and I went into our bedroom and I woke up Haley and I said, look at these bruises on my arm. This happened in the last hour. And she said, well, no, you've been out of it for, 3 hours.
Wow.
And do you have any inkling why you would be abducted, or why something would contact you at home like that?
I do, but it's just speculation, really.
What would you speculate?
Well,
if you're comfortable talking about it.
I think at first, this all started with me when I was about 7 years old, but the last, 5 years, 6 years, it's really come to a head. And especially the last about 2.5 years. And I'm remembering abductions with tall grays and small grays. And when I've been outside photographing and videotaping, sometimes my cell phone camera and my cell phone itself would start acting erratically, like shutting off all of a sudden or going black screen. Or sometimes when I'm taking pictures in the camera roll, when I look back for the pictures, there's a picture that I didn't take, and it's mathematical, like almost looks Egyptian in the format. I don't know if it's wording or whatsoever. And then I started to notice that when that started happening, with the camera roll and my phone screwing up when I'm taking, photos and videos of other UAPs, I started thinking that this entity or whatever, this species, is not so kind, not so, and kind of intrusive or something. We've had an experience actually about a year ago where we both felt very uncomfortable in our old condo, like so uncomfortable that we actually moved. And speaking to somebody out of Colorado, his name is Annabelle, who I've talked to about a lot of these experiences, and he was looking at pictures of my pupils and so forth, that he was concerned that there's possibly an infestation in our condo or me or Haley. And then I don't know. I know on my left ankle, I've got 3 dots in a perfect pyramid formation. And I thought, I'm tagged with maybe the tall grays, short grays, and maybe it's a tag that, for other species that, I just thought off the top of my head that, I'm their property or something. But then these tall, shadowy ones started to appear. And like I said, Christmas Eve last time, I've never been so scared in my life. Never. Like I was shaking and crying and scared to go outside.
And in those instances, do you remember what went on during your, just call it a blackout period for lack of a better word? Do you remember actual things happening with any of these entities?
With the tall and short grays, yes, I've got a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm.
These black tall ones, not so much, but Christmas Eve, I know I was shown as you can see on Les Durrant's Objects and Orbs YouTube interview, I was shown a vast room, which as far as my eyes could see, hundreds, if not thousands of open glass, I assume glass, pods of humans in their clothes. And Les has asked me, were they alive? Were they dead? And I said, like, honestly, I really don't know. I was just shown this vast room of pods. And that's my memory of Christmas Eve. And it scared the living hell out of me because it made me think, is this species or entities like collectors? Like, why so many humans there, and why show me without, any kind of explanation?
Was there any communication between you and these entities?
No, not that I remember. No.
Mm-hmm. And have you ever considered? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, if I could step in real quick, the interesting thing about this is that Laura Eisenhower mentions it in a movie called Above Majestic, where she had also seen pods of the same type, and that just totally blew me away because all of a sudden I thought of Rich. I was like, "Yep," and then I think Rich recently somebody had talked to me about what my blood type is. And was that you, Matt? Maybe were you talking about?
That
blood
was
type?
me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So maybe that could very well be part of it. If
Well,
that
maybe
totally makes sense.
and I've considered that because I am O negative, and I do have. I do have. Canadian Aboriginal ancestry in my bloodline, as well. There are some other medical interesting facts. Like I've never had a headache in my life. I'm turning 48. I can't even imagine what a headache is. And for somebody who's 48, besides the whiteness of my beard,
Rich, you don't have the kind of job that I have, or you know what a headache is. Please continue. Little joke there. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Dr. Trey, do you have any further questions for now? Because I'll turn it over to Matt, and I'm going to have him ask some questions. This is getting very interesting, Rich, and thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Have you ever considered consulting with a hypnotist to see if it would help you recollect some things that might have happened during these periods of loss of consciousness?
I have, and I've researched, at least here in Manitoba, Canada, to have regressional therapy done.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not find anybody who would be reliable. And of course, researching regressional, therapy, I've got to be concerned about, somebody doing it that they're just going to, inject memories into me and spark things to, keep the money machine for them rolling. So it is definitely something I'm completely open to. I just have to find somebody, and hopefully it could be maybe done online that is trustworthy.
I think if you have your wife present, and there's no reason she couldn't be present for that examination, and she were to record it, I think that might give you some assurance that it was done legitimately and they weren't planting ideas under hypnosis that would come out later. So that's just a consideration.
Okay.
And if you find someone, I don't know if they're board certifications, but if you find somebody who's legit, certainly a psychiatrist that does retrograde amnesia developments. I think if they're board certified, and I presume Canada has the same type of certification process for different physicians, I think that would be a good start for someone. But if your wife's present and she records it, I don't see a problem with that. That would assure you that it was on the upright.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And believe me, I mean, I have talked to a psychiatrist before, and the problem is with that kind of certification and I guess specialty or whatever, having it recorded besides their own recording, no, they, doesn't, it's not kosher or whatever.
They wouldn't allow that?
No.
And I don't know why they wouldn't.
To be honest with you too, though, is that, I'd rather go very privately and not out of our healthcare system here, because I would rather it be private and not on my medical records that can be accessed and can be viewed by, I'm not saying I'm anti-government, because I'm not whatsoever. But we've had some strange things happen in the last 2.5 years when I posted pictures and videos and black sedans going by our place slowly. And
you could always go to a college.
Oh,
well,
Lord.
I was just thinking, rather than stick within your within the Canadian healthcare system, you could just go visit Buffalo, New York for a day or two, and finding someone who is independent, who that would not enter into any official medical record. And there are privacy concerns with any healthcare encounter today, and as we become more and more dependent on data being kept in various locations, our private healthcare information is less and less secure. But with patient confidentiality, and especially if you're outside of your standard Canadian healthcare system and you went to a private physician in the States, I think that might give you the assurances you're looking for.
Okay, and let me just ask quickly, like Trey, is it possible to do regression therapy like online?
I don't know, and I would be more worried about that, because then there is an online recording possibility, and I would think it would be easier to abuse your privacy rights online than it would be one-on-one in a psychiatrist's office, especially if you said, I don't want you to record it. I'm going to let my wife record it on an iPhone and leave it at that. There's no reason they'd have to have something recorded. And if they don't agree to that, then you're seeking the wrong person.
Yeah, I just, I'm fine with a physician or a psychiatrist or psychologist recording sessions. I just don't want it appearing on my medical records.
Right. So, I mean, worst comes to worst, you become John Doe and and then you go to a clinic and you pay them cash, and then that's it. No insurance, no insurance coverage. No, this is just something that I want done, and just use a different name.
Yeah, that's where I'm leading up to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, this is Dr. John here. How close are you to Fargo, North Dakota?
Pretty close. Might be 2.5 hour drive.
Okay, I've got a friend that I believe qualifies. Let me speak with her this week and see if that is something that she could do, and I could introduce you to her. She's someone I've known for 10 years, and I completely trust her. Okay?
Okay, well, that'd be appreciated. And
I'm not, you know, I understand, and I tell you what, I'm in life insurance, and I'm going to tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. Your health records are in no way, shape, or form safe.
Yeah.
We're always talking about them all the time when a client gets denied life insurance. We're always nosy about what was it, and there's so much that goes on. It's not supposed to, but it does.
Yeah. No.
I've been in the business 10 years. I've seen it. All right. Well, that's great. Now, Matt Delph, you are up to bat now. What have you got to ask Rich Thomas?
Well, Trey had asked some of it there about the hypnosis therapy. I've got 2 people on my team that does hypnosis therapy, and they are licensed. One's licensed with the government, military. I wouldn't recommend them. You never know what may happen there. But I got another.
Matt, I'm going to guess. I probably know the other one that you would recommend. Just yes or no.
No, I don't think you know this one.
Okay.
I don't think you know this one. He's got his own office in Nashville, Tennessee, and he is licensed, and but he's a good one that he would go, under the radar on stuff, anything. He's a good friend of mine, but we deal with that a lot, and my team and people I research with and stuff. Angelia Shear, who was MUFON state director, she was a hypnosis therapy. And the guy that I was talking about in Nashville, he's the one that trained her and licensed her. And she always did, everything, like if you have missing time, stuff like that. But she would always warn them, everything was confidential. But there's stuff that could be coming up that could be, traumatizing, could cause PTSD. And you really got to look into that kind of stuff that, that could really mess with you. But it's a great way for them to know what happened to try and bring back. But a lot of people, sometimes it's traumatizing.
I definitely, Matthew, understand, possible consequences or things coming up. And like you just mentioned or whatever, and this is the first time online, besides talking to Les personally, that I've mentioned I am a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces, the Air Force. And I'm not going to right now speak publicly about my trade in the military here. Or some things, and I'm not saying anything against, say, the Canadian Armed Forces, but I also don't really trust them.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm right there with you. I even work with a lot of the guys on my team are military, intel for the government, all kinds of crazy stuff I deal with. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But since Dr. Trey, he kind of took my question there. And I was going to tell you, Trey, you called it cupping. We call it hickeys over here in the Appalachian Mountains.
That's
what I call
that's exactly right. But
No,
that is something that it would leave a macular image. It would be flat. It wouldn't be raised, and it would fade, but it it wouldn't fade within a day.
No,
It usually lasts longer.
Unless it was a group thing and there were 10 mice sucking on my bicep, they ain't no hickeys.
Yeah, I was just messing with Trey there because he called it cup and stuff. But okay, so my question
I
is,
was gonna say
so what was the earliest that you felt like you were being watched? How young? Stuff like that happening, like your first time that you feel like you were abducted. When did it all really start? That you really started to notice it?
It started about when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can watch Les Durrant's podcast, Object and Orbs, to, hear more in detail of it. But my family, we used to own outside the city a bunch of farmland, and we had a farmhouse that we used as a cottage, a weekend cottage. And we didn't have indoor plumbing or water, so we used an outhouse. And when I was 7 years old, I came out of the outhouse at night with a flashlight, and 3 feet in front of me was referenced as a short gray.
Okay.
And I, at that age, I didn't know anything about aliens or UFOs or anything like that. I just knew, and I dropped the flashlight right away. I just knew, when I consider it, my mind knew that this was not right.
Exactly.
This was not normal whatsoever. And then memories started to come back of seeing them in the windows looking in to our farmhouse. And then even as an adult, before we sold the land and sold the farmhouse, I visited our farmhouse as an adult, up until I think I was 22 years old. And it made me think that, when I was 22 years old, I used to have to make sure that all the blinds and curtains were closed in the windows when I stayed there. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of many things, really. I'm not afraid of heights or whatsoever. But it started to make me remember that I always had unsettling and seeing a face in the windows. And I have to always have the blinds closed.
I've noticed, I was going to ask you, I'm good friends with Travis Walton. I'm sure you're familiar with who he is.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with him stuff, and him, and there's several other people talk about these beings, but they don't have a mouth. Do you recall seeing a mouth on any of these?
Not really, no. Not 3 feet away and in my window, say 4 feet away or so. I don't remember per se seeing a mouth or even a slit, like Hollywood or TV shows will show them now. And I do have a big problem with the way Hollywood or whatever describes some of these entities, at least with the ones that I remember and who've abducted me. They're not as, I kind of refer to as Disney-like.
Right.
As Hollywood is depicting them. And so smooth and good to the eye. My memories of especially the tall and short grays are, the first 2-3 times they scared the living hell fucking right out of me. And I really got, and even when, I've talked to Les about the colors or the way at least the tall grays, that they're not exactly gray. They're kind of dark greenish, kind of blackish, kind of, it's just not something I think that my mind can grasp and understand. It's just it's something that I've never seen before and can't metaphorically put it towards some other thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about. First time I ever had an encounter with anything, I'm looking at something, I'm confused, I'm scared, but I'm confused. My mind is not, it's not registering. You're looking at something that's not supposed to exist. So
Yeah.
confused, there's fear there, but it's mixed with this confusion. And your brain, you're trying to, what is this? It's trying to pull up all this info and it's just not registering. But you're scared at the same time. So it's a mixture of emotions, and I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, it's just
Very interesting. Well, I tell you what,
Yes.
we got time for one more round of questions. I would like to start with Les with a question, and then Matt, and then Dr. Trey. We'll give you the last word tonight on ScaryCast. Les, do you have a question or comment you would like to direct to your friend?
Yeah, thank you so much for having Rich on too, and I really appreciate it. He's been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and we really enjoy visiting. And I know that. Tell us about times where Haley has actually witnessed some of the events that have happened with you, or had any type of inkling about it.
well. First off, usually Haley is the one that makes me come to. Like she'll find me on the couch or sitting at the edge of the bed after she knows it's been hours and I've been sitting there, or has even found me outside a few hours later. And a lot of times, especially it seems with the tall and short grays, my clothes may be inside out or backwards or both inside out and backwards. She just told me the other day, because I was reminding her as the last show you had, Objects and Orbs on YouTube, Les, about her recollection of seeing herself hover above the bed and looking over and seeing me hover and taken through our bedroom wall and window. Somehow physically I went through it. But she also told me that her first memory of remembering or dreaming or whatever of hovering over a bed was when she was a child.
Really? So it's happened to her too?
I highly suspect it. It's something that she, I can't talk for her, but I believe she's there is a connection between some family members of hers and seeing UAPs in farmland and stuff at early ages.
Wow.
I think there's, to put it briefly, I think Haley and I are the perfect storm. That we've got connections throughout, genealogy or family history. We both have it, and we both came to be together. And, just quickly, I'll just say, like, when I first met Haley, and I was an older man, I'd been married before, and I'm very cautious and stuff. There was this attraction to her that wasn't just physical or mental or whatever, or emotional or mental, the way that, I can describe it. There was just this magnetism to her right away.
Right.
Like I knew there was something about this woman, and I still can't, after, we just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary. I still can't, and it sounds bad. I still can't pinpoint why I'm
No, that's a good
so
thing. Yeah.
magnet attracted to her.
Attracted. Yeah, it's because of that attraction. And as well as I do, like even me and Claudette had that same kind of attraction as well. We met when we were kids on the island of Guam and back in 1980, and we've followed each other around the United States together. I mean, her dad was stationed in San Diego while my dad was stationed in San Diego, and her dad was stationed in Washington, and my dad was stationed in Washington, and she used to live in Murray, Utah, and I used to live in Murray, Utah. So, but the thing is, we just kind of followed each other around, and
No, I
that
don't, Les, sorry to interrupt you, but like in my
yeah.
experiences so far right now, I don't exactly believe in coincidences anymore.
No. There's no
And I
such
don't
thing as
think,
coincidence.
hearing about you and Claudette, that all these things were just coincidences.
Right? No, they're not.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
No. And I've even had, I don't know if you told me or one of our friends said that she's the reason why they fly over, and which is kind of interesting.
I said to you about Claudette,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's her.
yeah. So I think it's and also Matt, you were talking about the reason why we're abducted. I think is because of the negatives. Our creatives. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, just not necessarily abducted, but there's definitely something up with the RH negative, because I mean it can't be traced back to anything, and they are more of your psychics, your empaths, a lot of different qualities that are different. We can't, with the racist factor going back to the monkey in Africa, we don't carry that. So, and if they have to get the Rogan shot, or they will kill the baby, if a RH negative is got a baby that's positive in the room, they have to get the Rogan shot because it sees it as a basically a parasite, pretty much, and it wants to destroy it. It doesn't recognize, So there's a lot more to it than what we know, but a lot of your presidents, stuff like that, a lot of them are RH negative, but yet we only make up 15% of the world, and the biggest majority of them come from the Basque that was over there in Europe, and there's quite a few of them that's moved over here, and I don't know, but Dr. Trey might be able to confirm this, but there are no RH negative blood types in any animals, are there?
I honestly don't know, Matt.
I don't believe there is. So they call it the hybrid blood, a lot of people and stuff. There's a lot of different qualities that we possess that others don't. It's something definitely to look into.
Wow, that's cool, because like Rich is very creative, and I know I am, and Rich even told me, and I've told him, I said, you know what, we're pretty unique people. We're just kind of unique in the things that we do, and we're just, I don't know, right, Rich?
Well, the thing, I've asked you, Les, and this is true. After every abduction I can remember in the last 3 years, and I play piano, guitar, and sing and write music and whatever and record it. But I never force a song. I never sit down saying I'm going to write a song. But after every time I'm abducted, I get creative like hell. I will sit down and within 2 hours, I'll be able to write 3 songs just out of the blue. Not about abductions or anything like that, but just whatever. My creativity just blows up after an abduction, and I don't know why. And well, as well, and I forgot to mention on your podcast, Les, or whatever, after the abductions with the tall grays and small grays, I get a huge craving for salt. I get I can't quench my thirst for salt. I will sit down and eat 2 jars of pickles nonstop. I need the salt or vinegary taste. I've had medically recorded that I've got low potassium, which doesn't seem to make sense. You know, there's physical things I go through after one, and and mental things, because music comes from the brain, really, and well, the heart and soul, but still.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Great. Matt, do you have another question for Rich?
Yeah, a lot of people I know of that have these stories of encounters and stuff. Some of them have been healed. They've had, I believe it's the Grays, but they've had like injuries with their knees, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the next day after they have this encounter, their knee is almost like brand new. Got a good friend that's actually, John knows as well. John Dixon has had a encounter that his knee was completely healed up after this encounter. And there are lots of other stories. Have you ever been injured or anything that it brings up, like where you get healed? Or
Well, that's very interesting, and sorry, I'm starting to tear up here, because about 6 months ago I started talking to my mother about these things and showing her pictures and videos that I have, and talking about some experiences. And she was very actually open to, because I do have, relatives from her side that have, said they've been in the country roads chased by UAP, or one uncle who said he's been abducted. I'm adopted into the family, though. But she said to me once, about 6 months ago, she said, well, Rich, why don't you ask them to heal you? And the reason is because in the past about 6 years, I've been seeing medical specialists like crazy, cardiologists, pulmonary specialists, eye specialists right now, a gastroenterologist. And I did, like, with talking to Les and listening how to communicate with them somewhat. And I learned my own way of communicating outside in the sky, and I see them around or something, or I figure they are. I know they are. I started meditating and asking, after my mom's advice, can you help heal me? Well, in the last 3-4 months since then, all of my symptoms, my cardiologist, my lung specialist, gastro-wise, being able to digest food properly, all the problems I've had have gone.
Wow.
Have just disappeared.
that's awesome. That is awesome.
And I believe in the power of the mind too.
Right.
In self-healing. If you're really strong-minded or whatever, and but man, I've been begging for physical relief to a lot of the problems I've been experiencing, daily. And then just all of a sudden, after I meditated and I talked to silently what I consider my friends, the tall grays and small grays, then all of a sudden, all my symptoms disappear, and I'm physically the healthiest I have been in a number of years, with no explanation as to why. That
Now you know.
that gets me.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. Trey, you get the last question and the last word tonight. This has been nothing short of amazing. And Rich, thank you. But Dr. Trey, the final floor is yours.
Rich, thank you for sharing this with us. This has been very, very interesting to me. Quick question at the end. When you see these short, tall grays, when you see the darker entity that's more recent, are they corporeal? Are they three-dimensional? Are they tangible? Or are they more ethereal? Or how would you describe that? When when we describe how Hollywood portrays this, Hollywood's out to entertain and make money. So they're going to come up with an image that might be based on something that they think is real, but they're going to make it more real by making it more fake. So in the real aspect of your perception of these beings, are they three-dimensional? Are they solid? Could you reach out? Can they reach out and touch? Describe
Yeah,
that
no,
aspect.
that's a really good question. I've never been asked before, and it just made me think while you were asking that, about that, and the tall and the short grays. They're definitely tangible. I could, see like around their structure. Even though when I've been taken by those entities, I can only really move my eyes or my head a little bit.
Right.
But I can see around. These new entities, the tall, shadowy ones that Christmas Eve and I suspect, Sunday morning, no, they're kind of like straight on. Like, to me, they could be as thin as a piece of paper. It's just their color and fading in and out is different. And I was actually talking to Haley earlier today about this, these are just, of course, theories or whatever of, maybe this other species that I've been encountering since Christmas Eve.
Yep.
They're more multidimensional.
So
I really don't know. Like, I believe me, if I had $1 million, I'd pay $1 million to know. I'd pay $1 million. I'd give my life to know what the fuck is going on with me. I really would.
it's interesting because it sounds like those.
I'm university and college educated.
Well, it sounds like the short and tall grays are three-dimensional, tangible, real, but these new entities are a projection, or you're just not sure about their dimensionality.
Yeah, no, and that's a good word, like projection, possibly. I just, and I mentioned to Les earlier today when we were speaking about this, it reminded me of the Miami Mall incident and what some witnesses supposedly said there about these tall, black, shadowy things coming in and out of vision or whatever. That's what they were like Christmas Eve, and that's what it was like 4 nights ago when I saw, I believe, one not running, but whatever it was doing in the middle of the road. And what I believe, happened Sunday morning. This is an entity I've never come across or even heard of. And I can't even really begin to describe, besides saying, between 8 and 12 feet tall. It's kind of like stocky, like a tree without branches. It's dark, but then it fades in and out, gray to just disappear and then fades back in. It's like a ghost, I would say.
When you saw that entity on the road, was there traffic on the road? Were there cars going by?
There was traffic at the beginning when it started, and then there was no traffic, and it moved, like I said, about half a kilometer, fading in and out, and then just disappeared completely, and then traffic resumed. And we live outside a very high traffic area, 24 hours a day.
So it would be strange to have no traffic during any period of time.
That's what I figured. Like when it was moving, and the traffic just stopped in both directions, and it was right in the middle of the road. That's what got me was, and I haven't really thought much about it, about, entities or whatever with technology or so forth, being able to slow down or stop time or manipulate things around you while things happen. And let me just say, Sunday morning, Saturday night, when this happened, Haley always wakes up because she's got restless legs and that mouth thing you have, sleep apnea. Sorry.
Yes.
And so whenever she turns over, she wakes up a bit. Okay. She said that during about those 3 hours, she did not move or anything, doesn't remember anything. And that is very odd for her. I mean, that's just unheard of for her. And that's where I was coming, about that I've heard some can manipulate time or things around. Because I can't believe, like our condo, we're on the 3rd floor. If they were taking me through a wall, that nobody else could see it happening.
Well, it sounds almost as if time was somewhat suspended from both the traffic and your wife's reaction. I think my other question is when they first appeared, did the drivers react to, I mean, if I was driving along and I saw an 8 to 12 foot entity, my brake lights would probably come on. I think that you'd have a reaction. So I guess what I was going for was there a reaction to the drivers when it first started? When if I was driving, I'd go, whoa, I'm slowing down.
It was only 2 cars, and one going southbound and then one going northbound when I first saw it. And unfortunately, the street I'm talking about, it's supposed to be 60 kilometers an hour. But because we live on the outskirts of the city, like we're like 3 miles away from farmland,
right?
People tend to use our roads at 80 kilometers, 90 kilometers, 100 kilometers an hour or whatever. So they, just sped right by, and then it just stopped. And I saw this thing, and I can't emphasize more about this thing moved. I can't even describe how the hell it moved. Like it wasn't a walking or running. It wasn't that it was drifting or levitating. My mind can't even describe. I have no words. And, and like I said, I write songs and I write poetry and stuff. I cannot even describe how the hell this thing moved.
I need to jump in here real quick to just ask a real quick question. Did it notice you? Did it know you was watching it? Did it notice you?
I think it did. And I think that's why it disappeared.
Okay.
Because I was so floored. And every time I go out on the balcony, so I'm a smoker and I only smoke outside, mostly because of stars or in case I see a UAP or something, you know, I take out my cell phone and I bring it with me. And I had my cell phone on me in my back pocket, but I'd never seen anything like this, never heard of anything like this, besides maybe the Miami Mall thing, what the short descriptions I've read of. And when I did grab my cell phone, it just poof, disappeared in the middle of the road. Like that was it. It was gone.
Okay. Well, Rich, that's an amazing story. I'll have Les get back in contact with you. We'd like for you to come back sometime sooner than later. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, no, we can talk further or whatever, and I'm sure Les will keep me up to date, and you know, we'll go from there.
Right. Well, look, and thank you very much for being with us. It's been, as I said, nothing short of amazing tonight. I want to thank Les for bringing you here. That was great, Les. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. I enjoy visiting with Rich, and one of these days I'm hoping to meet him in person.
Okay, well, that's good. Matt and Dr. Trey, Matt, thanks a lot. Interesting questions. Look forward to having you back because it was wonderful. And Dr. Trey, you had very good questions. They were spot on, I thought. So we've got a lot more good times coming on ScaryCast as we're moving toward the World UFO Conference, which is June 28th and 29th in Clayton, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some great. I think Matt Delph's going to be there with us. I think
Awesome.
Les Durrant and Claudia will be there. I will be there. Brooks Agnew, John LeMay, and a number of other people are. And I'm going to check on another great speaker this Saturday to meet with them and see if they will come over. And they're just right near Clayton. It's amazing the amount of people that have called me about this conference. I've never had so many people calling me. In fact, I had this guy named David Baker, and he's going to be our guest.
Yeah.
He's going to be our guest on Thursday. So it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
He's got more stories, more abduction stories. So all I got to say is it's a lot of fun as we move into UFO season here on ScaryCast. I want to thank Les. I want to thank Rich. I want to thank our co-hosts, Matt Delph and Dr. Trey Dunaway. I'll do the call around to thank everybody. And we'll see everyone next time on the one and only, the ScaryCast. See everybody.
Good night.
Not
See you
everyone.
later, guys. All right. Bye-bye.